Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy is Ted.
And we just want to remind you, D&D is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the ride.
Jump down in the description below. We can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. Get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
Alright, so this topic is kind of viewer-inspired. We had an old GM 911 that we got around to looking at, and we're like, oh, you know what? This really makes me think of things, because it's funny when you look at the game and you see what people look at as problems, and the thing that's like kind of like holding them up. So it inspired the idea that D&D is a game. It's about enjoying the journey and not so much getting to a destination.
So there is a lot that goes into any role-playing game. And first and foremost, let's put the rules aside. Let's put the dice aside. It's a social thing. Like, you get together with people and you play a game. And anything, any game, board game, card game, dice game, tabletop role-playing game, miniature game, it all is going to involve dealing with other people and that social aspect. So you want to remember that portion of it, in all the things that you do. Once you get into the mechanics and the story, it begins to twist and shape away from all the other possible games and things that you could be doing, and becomes its own thing that, maybe that's the part that really drives you and makes you really enjoy, tabletop role-playing games. But it's social first.
So this GM had laid out a particular part of the game. Like in this instance, it was giving the loot, right? And the players really seemed to enjoy that, and they got into it. But the GM was kind of, I don't want to say annoyed. It didn't sound like that at all.
Frustrated
because it seemed to like really be slowing down the game. But at the same time, they also seemed to really enjoy this aspect of the game. And this is actually a part of the game. This would be like the exploration pillar. It doesn't always have to be like, going through the forest, over the hills, and that kind of things. It really can be, finding treasure, dividing the treasure up, figuring out its value. Is this magic? How do you attune it? Who's this going to work best for? Like all these other elements of the game that your players may fixate on, yet it doesn't advance the story. If you're running a module or you have an adventure in mind, it's not getting to the end per se. But sometimes D&D's just like that. Look at Critical Role. A lot of their episodes are there's just them role-playing back and forth, interacting with NPCs. It's a lot of exploration and social interaction that doesn't necessarily move the story forward. But that doesn't mean that, it isn't enjoyable to play or even to watch. So they're all elements of the game. There's nothing wrong with it. In the game that Nerdarchy Doug was running, his in-person game, it was a Spelljammer game, and they had a ship. Well, occasionally they would have to hire a new crew for their ship. And as soon as they did, they're like, oh man, we just hired someone. We're going to have to give them one of the cabins. We're gonna have to go shopping. It's gonna need furniture. It's gonna need to be outfitted. And he's like, he couldn't believe how much time they would spend on something that's like kind of trivial and could just be hand waved and be like, give me X amount of gold. But they wanted to role play it. They wanted to go pick out the stuff. They wanted to go shopping. If your players are having fun, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes, as a GM, you just need to go, okay, well, I still have that material. I can go back to it next session. We haven't got through it as much as I want. But if you're focused on, getting to the end, solving the problem, and you're that kind of person, then I can see how, it'll be frustrating.
So, unless you are running a game where you've got a deadline, we can only play with these hours, in this store, in this place, and you're contracted to get through a story arc in X number of sessions, I would just take a deep breath and sit back and enjoy. Okay, well, you as the DM, you've done your part. You have put the list of stuff that the party has found for this particular location out to all the players. Now they're going to spend a half hour figuring out You know, how much the sword's worth, how much the armor's worth, you know, what kind of properties everything has, figuring out a gold cost and trying to divide it evenly, because that's how your group does it. If that's what they enjoy, if that's what they find entertaining and meaningful to them as players and characters, then enjoy your break, sir. Get something to eat, get a drink, take a bio break, whatever it is that you need to do while they're having fun, because you know that's a part of the game that they really enjoy. You know, I've had the pleasure of gaming with a variety of different types of gamers. You know, I've played with those who really relish the combat. I've played with those who were like, yeah, we don't need to touch dice. We're just gonna role play all night tonight. Cool. Let's have fun with it. And I can find enjoyment in any iteration, you know, of that. So as a DM, when your players sit back and be like, yeah, we don't need you right now, that's the best time. I can sit back and enjoy, make sure that I have the next area, you know, prepped mentally. Do I have an NPC that I need a voice for? Do I have, you know, all of my cards in a row to be able to have the monsters come out? Did something change and I want to tweak something real quick? You know, it's a perfect moment to be able to do any of that stuff.
I would add the caveat: listen to what your players are talking about, because they may inspire the next campaign or the next encounter, adventure, even the rest of the campaign through whatever it is they're doing. So always pay attention to your players, even if you don't need to be engaged with them, because sometimes that's where the best ideas for your games come from.
I will wholeheartedly agree with that, because there's many times that, you know, a player has said something or done something, and you're like, "Yep, that's a note. That's going to be a thing now." You know, wasn't 5 minutes ago, but it is now, because the player's like, "Oh man, you know, we got to be careful. This looks like, you know, the monster thingy lives over here, and I don't want to fight that thing." Well, now you're going to.
And it's kind of funny too. You like outlined a scenario where, like, the timeline out of game actually matters, and it's virtually almost non-existent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, virtually that's never going to really come up. It would take really weird circumstances for that to be a factor.
And that is the only thing that I personally can think of, and I'm certain that there's other things out there that maybe fall into criteria like that. But that's the only thing that I can think of where this is a problem, that you have to get a game in X number of sessions with only so much play time, and that, you know, the game is being slowed down because players are having fun doing something that's not part of the story. Like, it's something like that makes this a problem.
It might, like, maybe you're a streamer. That's what when you were talking, that's literally what you described to me. Like, maybe they're a streamer, and you know, the 12 episodes it's got to be over. But I can only think of, you know, one thing in game, and that would be a factor. And then you would just have to reiterate to your players and be like, "Hey guys, this is still going on, just so you know." And that is the idea that there's a time crunch on something they're trying to do. Something is time sensitive that they need to do. And in that case, yes, if they're spending a lot of time doing other stuff. Now, there's a difference between out of game time and in game time. So if what they're doing is taking up a lot of out of game time, but really wouldn't take up a lot of in game time, it really doesn't matter that much. But if it's the way they're doing it also would correlate to in-game time as well, then you might have to remind them and be, hey, you know, this is going on as well. And they still may not care. So you could just be like, well, there's consequences, like, oh, that village is no more, you know, that you were going to last time. You took a little too long. Well, you know, these things happen. Actually, it happens in all my games, actually. So it's just the thing. But, you know, the most important thing is that the players can explore the game and enjoy it. However best suits them, and maybe it's not a playstyle that works for you. So then that's an out of game conversation between you and your players of like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is how I like the game to run. You know, can we speed this up? Can we compromise? Is there a place where we can meet in the middle? You know, sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. And from there, you're going to just have to decide that, you know, this group may not be for you or whatever. But for the most part, is if everyone's having fun playing the game, there isn't really a right or wrong way to do it.
So the question is, you know, how do you handle this kind of thing in your game? Do you have this kind of problem? Do you have any feedback, you know, for those that might be encountering this? There's a great place to continue that conversation. It's down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, don't forget, we got a store over at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.